It's one of the first things I do when I'm back home in Austin, when I wake up there, and when I go to bed. Last time I was home, there was about 5 loads covering the floor in front of the washer and dryer. It's easiest to just separate all out there into moms and one sisters, and then the other sisters, then towels, dish rags, and then bedding. There's easily another 3 or 4 loads upstairs, then another 2 by the time I finish the first couple over the first few days I'm back. Over the course of a couple months, another growth spurt later, they outgrow their clothes, and Mom and I check the dozens of labels to see which size it is. We separate them into the coordinating piles and then stack it against the wall. The clothes sit there for another couple of months because making the time to get rid of them just doesn't make it to the top of the to-do list, especially for a disabled mother of 4, 2 of the kids being disabled too. Now there's a growing pile of these little girls' clothes under my bed because I want their home to be clean. I don't think that having these random piles of laundry that also one of the girls happens to love to throw them around like they're fabric confetti at least once a week. I don't think these random piles help out that much with that. Plus, I'm an artist and maybe I could do something with the clothes, you know? Since high school, and primarily during my summer and winter breaks while in undergrad, I've spent many hours doing laundry, errands, cooking, bath and bedtime, medicine administration, taking the night shift sometimes when the girls' meds don't work, and they are just ready to wake up for the day at 3 a.m., bright and early, as chipper as can be. Most of the time, though, usually I'm just half asleep on the couch. And like anyone else, I'm not on top of it all the time. There are several weeks in the past years where I don't quote unquote do my job and I focus on my art and drawing instead of the chores. But there are also times where art isn't on my mind at all, and I guess that also feels like I'm not quote unquote doing my job, what I'm supposed to be doing. But nonetheless, I delete Instagram some weeks out of the year and I do my best to be sister of the year to them and forget that I'm an artist for a little bit. And I think that brings me back to my practice a lot more charged and ready to go. And I don't know how to do this, but I've been wanting to make a piece about being a caretaker for my sisters for a while. I understand that vulnerability is important in artwork, but there's a line between it being, I feel, amateurish and mature, and I'm not sure where it is, but I think it has something to do with the context of how the parts are shared to make it not sound like a vent, but slightly objective maybe, letting the viewer understand what it is on their own. Or maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe I'm just afraid of sharing personal things and it ends up being pointless or stupid. Who knows? There's a lot of components to that, so maybe making a quilt and talking about my thoughts related to the said quilt feels like a decent direction to go for now. This quilt for me is a couple of things. It's not just about my family or my sisters and me being a caretaker in a way, but also a way for me to blend in my interest in sustainability. I don't really trust donating to thrift shops, and that probably sounds ridiculous, at least most of the time. What I don't use on this project, I'll very likely put a post up on Facebook Marketplace or in a Facebook group chat about giving away these clothes for free, and if they don't want it, I can take it out of the pile and use it to add to this blanket or make another one maybe. But a lot of thrift shop donations end up being shipped off to textile mills actually, and often if there's plastic in the shirt or they're heavily blended fabrics, it's sent directly to the landfill. And of course, this varies by location, but if a particular thrift shop location just has too many donations and things don't get sold, yeah, that's what happens. Super exciting stuff, but I missed this class I took last semester. We watched tons of videos, but one of the ones that I think about now and again, and slightly often, we followed the life cycle of American trash, how the little Starbucks cup from when I forgot my reusable at home, the granola bar wrappers because I was too tired to make my own, the shirt with the tear in it that I think I'll fix one day, but then I end up throwing it away during a spring clean because I'm trying to be honest with myself, or one of those phases. It all somehow ends up in someone else's backyard. It feels like it disappears, but I know that we all know it ends up somewhere. And frequently, the government's only solution is to light it all on fire because it's the quickest and cheapest way to get rid of all the trash. It inevitably fills the area with black smoke, and this smoke creeps into people's homes, and they do their best to wear cloths around their face when, for example, they cook for their kids, but they already have lung issues because this has been happening for years. I am also aware that this is a pretty neurotic way of looking at things. It doesn't fix the situation just by being stressed about it. It reminds me of how my stepdad always told me, shit or get off the pot. Like, don't, do something about it or don't. Yeah. But regardless, the scene still plays in my head. I'm just used to it at this point. The scene, I look at it as fuel. I care about the sustainability stuff because selfishly, I just don't want my life harder than it has to be in the future, because I know it already will be. I don't mind struggles and pushing through life events, but I can't do much about future heat waves and freezes while they are happening. My sisters, each of them eat incredibly specific diets, they require specific meds, and one of them can't sweat, meaning she can't regulate her body temperature. And I'm gonna sound like a nut job, but I imagine a scenario where one summer ERCOT never expanded their carrying capacity, the AC shuts down, and then my sister has a heat stroke that none of us can do anything about because there's no way to cool her down. And then she dies. And yeah, it makes the dozens of hours I spend researching bills and emailing legislators an investment in the future where I don't have to worry about it as much. It's still not enough to me, but it's what I can do right now. My best friend and my brother like to remind me that I'm crazy and I'm way too intense sometimes, but it's how I'm cut. And I laugh at myself in the process. I even make jokes, or I have in the past with my past significant others, that I already have kids because aside from the fact that I feel my mom depends on me for a fair amount of the year, she never expresses this. I assume that she does, and I force myself in that position because it feels right to me. But this means I need to live within a few hours of them because one day, realistically, my mom won't be here anymore, and my sisters are only comfortable around her, me, and my brother. But it's my choice to be as involved as I am. It's my choice because she has no one else around her to help other than my 7-year-old grandparents, and that's not right to me. She's always been my cheerleader for me being an artist, and this is how I can pay her back, by living here in the state of Texas with her and my sisters. It's offensive when people say we should hire someone to care for them, not because we feel we're the only people who can get the job done right. I'm sure someone else would do a wonderful job as well. But the pay from the state for us to hire someone else to care for them is only $10.50 an hour. How can anyone expect someone with that type of pay to truly care for two autistic little girls? One of which is nonverbal, and she gives you very subtle cues when she needs something else. I just can't expect that from anyone, but I can expect that from me. And the flexibility of pursuing a studio art career with this helps, because yes, it'll be a lot of work, persistence, and weird hours, but at least I can be home with them. This quilt is a reminder for me. It'll remind me of my sisters, my art practice, and my activism. It'll also remind me of how to have fun with art making too. I had never really sewn before this. The colors and patterns don't symbolize anything. I was just playing around, making something old new again, learning a new machine, and making something that feels cute, personal, but functional. And it doesn't feel like empty space to me. That was my criteria for this, and it doesn't need to be any deeper than that for me.